Swifter, this is Prof G, and let's get things sorted. We're going to update our app so that we now show an average review for each spot. We'll round this average review to the nearest single decimal place, and we'll also write a function so that whenever a review is added, modified, or deleted, we'll automatically recalculate that spot's average review score. Then we'll be able to use this to sort our spots from highest average review score to lowest. Let's code! So our first goal is to get the rating label on Spot Detail View Controller to show a proper rating label. Right now, it just shows these underscores with a decimal point in the middle. Let's change that. And you know what? Xcode is also warning us about a conflict it sees, so let's change that first. I'm going to click on this little red warning that I see in the document outline, and it's up here because the posted by label and the date label are both stretching inside of a stack view. This warning doesn't crash our code. It's been here since we first created this layout. Let's fix it. And Xcode doesn't know which one should get the priority to stretch more than the other one. So I'm going to click on this little red ball here, and Xcode offers to decrease the hugging priority of posted by so that it can grow before the other views, specifically the date label, because we're using the short date format. That's really never going to change. Posted by is going to need as much space as possible. This is a good decision. And I'll select change priority. That's exactly what we want. Now I'll click on the back button to see the rest of my document outline, and we'll click on Spot Detail View Controller. So when do we calculate the average review? Once we've loaded in all of our review records. That's right in view will appear inside of load data. So I'm going to add some code in the completion handler right after table view reload data. First, if we don't have any reviews, let's keep the review label showing dashes instead of digits. And we'll do that with an if clause. If self.reviews.reviewArray.count equals 0, open and close curlies. We'll also add an else clause, open and close curlies. And the if part will say self.ratinglabel.text equals, and in between quotes, dash dot dash. Sounds like Morse code. It's not. Then, in the else clause, this is where we actually calculate the average review based on the reviews that we've just loaded in. So what code should we use? The very same code we wrote in the playground in our last tutorial video. So let's head over to the playground we used in the last video. We'll highlight the line with our working reduce statement in it. We'll copy it, head back to Spot Detail View Controller, and paste it into the else clause. Now it needs a few changes before it'll work. First, let's change new sum to sum just for aesthetic reasons. And Xcode will give us a couple of errors if you wait long enough. One is that we need self in front of reviews.reviewArray since we're inside of a closure. And the other is we need to change our initial accumulating value. In the playground, we were working with doubles, so we set it to 0.0, but our rating value for the star ratings is actually an integer. So we just need to set that to 0 instead of 0.0. But now the reduce function is set, and it's going to add up all of our ratings. Now we could have completed the average calculation on a single line, but we'll do it on a second line here just for readability. We'll say var avg rating equals double in parentheses sum divided by doubles in parentheses self.reviews.reviewsArray.count. Now the tricky thing about avg rating is that it could possibly be a very long decimal double. So what we want to do is we want to round this to just a single value after the decimal point, and we know how to do that. We'll say avg rating equals AVG rating times 10, make sure that's in parentheses. Then we'll call dot rounded on that. Then we'll surround that by parentheses and divide that value by 10 as well. Now, whatever double value we've got in AVG rating, we'll only have one decimal point. And now in the line below that, we're ready to update our rating label. So we'll say self.ratinglabel.text equals, and in quotes, string interp, AVG rating. Let's build and run and see how things look. So our app is running, no errors. I know I've got a bunch of reviews in Island Creek Oyster, so I'm going to click on that, and hey, average rating is 3.8. Now, if you perform the calculation, you know that the average rating is actually 3.75, but our rounded is working, so we can fit our average rating in the 2 digits in our average rating field. Looking good. If you change your rating, I'm going to click on I'm a Vegan. I'm going to give it a 2-star rating, update that, and we see we're now up to a 4-star rating. I'm going to go into that rating again, change it back down to 1 star, update, we're back to 3.8. You can change some of these other ratings if you want to. You can even add and delete ratings. It's all going to work fine. So the rating calculation on our Spot Detail View Controller is working great, but we also want to update the calculation that we use in our Spot List View Controller. That'll be important for sorting on average rating. We're not doing that right now, so let's take a look at one way to solve this problem. Now we already have a field in each Spot document to record average rating and number of reviews. Those values are currently 0 for all of our Spot documents. So what we want to do is we want to update the average rating value whenever the user has either added, deleted, or modified an existing review document. Any of those 3 actions could impact a Spot's average rating. So we're going to write a function to do that. In our Spot class, we'll put in a new function. We'll call it update average rating. And in order to update the average rating, we'll read in all of the review documents for that spot, we'll total up the ratings properties for all of these reviews, we'll calculate the average rating, and we'll save both the average rating and the number of reviews to our spot document. Then we can call this update average rating function whenever we've successfully added, updated, or deleted a review document. Now there's one caveat. When you design databases, you've always got to look out for problems that could occur in a multi-user environment. It is possible that someone could update a review in between when we read in all of our documents and then perform our calculation and write out the average reviews. That would leave our data out of sync. You also have to worry about what might happen if you're in between updating information and the internet connection fails or the phone's battery goes out. Now normally to handle these situations, we use what in the database world are called transactions. Most databases, including Cloud Firestore, have a way of allowing all or nothing database tasks. So for example, only commit a set of updates if all of them can do it once and together. Otherwise, don't make the change. Now Cloud Firestore has this capability, but it doesn't yet have the capability to read in a query of a collection as part of a multi-part transaction. And that's exactly what we would need to do if we were updating our average rating in order to get all of our review records and add up the reviews properly. Now there is a way around this. Google offers a feature called Cloud Functions. It'll perform the calculation and the transaction out in the cloud instead of on the client, instead of on the iOS device. Now we could write and call a function in the cloud to run this all or nothing transaction, but it would involve us writing code in a programming language that we're not learning. Currently, Cloud Functions use either TypeScript or JavaScript. So for our tutorial, I've made the design decision to use this update average rating function, even with the slight risk that our average rating calculation might fall out of sync. And that's because in the rare case where a review calculation might be incorrect, it's not as critical as, say, if banking funds got out of sync or an e-commerce transaction hasn't gone through. And also the entire calculation is going to be updated each time an add, update, or delete review is performed, so there's a degree of error correction built into this design. So I think this is fine, but if you want to learn more about transactions or cloud functions, the Firebase folks have a lot of tutorial videos online and example code too. Feel free to check that out. But for fabulous Snacktacular, our solution is going to work great. Let's head over to spot.swift and write our update average rating method. So in spot.swift, just before the last curly, let's define our function with func update average rating, open parens, completed : at escaping, open and close parens, draw an arrow, open and close parens. There should be a close parens after this pair of parens, and then open and close curlies. Then let's declare a Firestore database object. We'll say let db equals capital Firestore.Firestore. Then let's create a reference so that we can get all of the reviews in our spot. We'll say let reviews ref equals db.collection. In parentheses, that's the string spots, then .document, and in parentheses, document ID, then .collection, and in parentheses, the string reviews. Then we'll use our reviews ref to get all of our documents. So we're not going to create a snapshot listener like we've done before. We're just going to use a method called getDocuments. So we'll say reviews ref .getDocuments. Select this option here with the completion handler. Double click the completion handler. Our query snapshot will be query snapshot, and our error will be error. Now inside that handler, let's make sure that we didn't get an error, so we'll say guard error equals nil, else open and close curly. Then we'll put a return in between the curlies, and above the return we'll put a print statement for the error with print, and then the string will be error : failed to get query snapshot of reviews for reviews ref, string interp, reviews ref, and we'll add an angry emoji to the front. Now, if we do have an error, not only do we want to return, but we want to make sure that we flag this function as completed. So after return on the same line, we'll put completed, open and close parens. Now, below the guard curly, we can be confident that if we've gotten here, we have a valid query snapshot. So we'll perform our calculation. Unfortunately, we can't easily use our one-line reduce method because we need to get into the rating values, which are inside of a dictionary, but we'll handle things with a for loop. No big deal. Now, first, let's initialize a variable to hold the sum of our ratings total with var rating total equals 0.0, so this will hold the total of all of our review ratings. Then we'll create a for loop to loop through all the documents in our query snapshot with for document in query snapshot !documents open and close curlies. Then to get the data from the document, we just say let review dictionary equals document.data open and close curlies. Now remember, document.data gives us back a string any dictionary, and we can confirm that by option clicking on the review dictionary. So then let's peel out our rating value. So we'll say let rating equals review dictionary bracket in quotes. It's the key value rating as ! int ? Now this could be a nil. In order to deal with that, we'll use nil coalescing. So we'll add ? followed by 0, which will be the value that we pass in case we get back a nil. Again, that reads in the rating for each review. Then we'll take that value and add it to our rating total with rating total equals rating total plus. And we have to convert the rating to a double, so we'll say double, and then inside that, pass in rating. Then after that, we're going to update the average rating property with self.averageRating equals rating total divided by double, and in parentheses, it's query snapshot exclamation point dot count. And we'll also update the number of reviews with self.numberofreviews equals query snapshot exclamation point dot count. Once we have both of these values as updated properties in our spot class, we want to save the spot class again. So let's go ahead and get a new dictionary value so that we can save that out. We'll say let data to save equals self.dictionary. Let's create a document reference for the document that we want to save. We'll call that reference spotref, so we'll say let spotref equals db.collection, and in parentheses it's the string spots dot document, and in those parentheses it's self.document ID. And then since this is an existing document, we know we've got a document ID for it. We can just call spotref.setData, select this option here with the document data in the completion handler. Our document data argument is going to be data to save. Double click that completion handler. For error, we'll pass in error. Then we'll check to see if we've got an error, so we'll say if let error equals error, open and close curlies. If we do, we'll print out an error with print error colon updating document string interp self.document ID in spot after changing average review and number of review info string interp error dot localized description. Then we'll put in an else clause, open and close curlies. This is the hooray case, everything worked. We actually don't need a statement in here, but why don't we put in a print statement anyway, just so we can take a look at the console and feel good about what we've done. So we'll say print, and in quotes, new average string interp self.average rating, document updated with ref ID string interp self.document ID. And why don't we put a numbers emoji in front of this? And we'll put an angry in front of the error print statement. Let's make sure we put our completeds in as well. So inside of our else block, we'll say completed, open and close curlies. Inside the if block, we'll also say completed, open and close curlies. Update average rating method, complete. So now we want to head over to review.swift, and we want to make sure every time we add a record, update an existing review, or delete a review, that we call the update average rating method that we just wrote. Now, how do we know we've successfully completed an add, update, or delete? We'll just look for the completion true statements. We've got two of those in save.data. The first one is inside this if statement here that says if document ID equals empty string. So when we hit completion true inside of this, we've just added a new review. So I'm going to highlight completion true, cut it out. I'm going to replace that with a call to spot.updateAverageRating. I'm going to paste my completion in parentheses true inside of that. Then I'm going to highlight this call to spot.updateAverageRating with the completion handler and completion.true set. So that's 3 lines here. Copy it. Then I'm going to scroll down into the else condition. I can see I've got completion true there. If I hit this completion statement, then I've successfully updated an existing review. I'm going to highlight that and paste over top of it. So now as soon as I've successfully updated an existing document, I'm going to call update average rating. And finally, I'm going to scroll down here to delete data. I've got a call to completion true here. I'll paste the call to spot.updateAverageRating over the top of that as well. So now we should be more or less guaranteed that every time we make a change to our reviews, we're going to have an updated average rating for that spot. So the code we just wrote will update our average rating. Our data will be accurate. So now let's go ahead and make sure that we can sort on that average rating. So we'll head over to Spotlist View Controller. We'll find the function sort based on segment pressed. And remember, we printed a to-do in here. But what we want to do here is call spots.sortArray.sort. And instead of typing in the code, I'm going to highlight the working code that I have up here in this first case that performs an A to Z sort on .name. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it over print to do, but I'm going to change both of the .name parameters to .average rating. And since I want to sort from highest rating to lowest rating, I'm going to change the less than symbol to a greater than symbol. Now there's one more thing we need to do. Remember, our average rating remains a double, and that double might have more than one number after the decimal point, but we only want to show the rating to one decimal point, and that rating shows up in our custom spot table view cell. So let's head over to spot-table-view-cell.swift, and right here in our didSet property observer for the variable spot, right after we update name label, let's first calculate the rounded average of our average rating. And so we'll create a constant for that. We'll say let rounded average equals, and in parentheses, spot.averageRating times 10. Then outside of those parens, we'll call the .rounded method, then put all of that in a set of parentheses and divide that by 10. Then I'll just highlight our new rounded average constant, copy it, and paste it over spot.averageRating. Ladies and gentlemen, you are ready to build and run. Let's see what we got. Hammer time, no errors. Here's our app. First, we see our average ratings are 0. Not surprising since we haven't updated any of our average rating values. That only happens when we save, edit, or delete a review. So I'm going to head to Island Creek because I know I've got a bunch of reviews for that spot. Reviews are calculated and showing us 3.8. nicely rounded, looking good. Now I'm going to go head back over to the Cloud Firestore database console, and I'm looking at the Island Creek document in the back here, and now the rating and the number of reviews are both 0. But I'm going to head back to the simulator, and I'm going to click on this review, the I'm a Vegan review. I'm going to switch to 2 stars. I'm going to click on update. Now the average rating changes to 4.0 in the simulator, but even more impressive, look at the database console. It says average rating 4, number of reviews 4. That's evidence that our update average rating method is working. I'm going to click back on I'm a Vegan again. I'm going to change it back to 1 star, click update. The app shows me 3.8, but behind the scenes, the backend magic is showing in the database console. And we see the average rating has changed to 3.75, while the number of reviews remains at 4. Nice, just as expected. Now you can change more values in here if you want, like this one for brunch, and the data is changing, as well as the average review that we see in our app. Now it's time for another moment of truth. Let's get ready to press the back button to go back to take a look at our list of spots. Here we go, and whoa! Will you look at that? Island Creek's average review is showing up in the table view cell. Click to sort on ratings. It shuffles up to the top. Excellent! This is what we want to see. Now you can also go into any other spot that already has reviews. I'm going to click on Pinot's. I'm going to find a review to update. And as soon as I press update, my spot's average review is calculated via the update average review method that we just wrote. Head back. Take a look at Pinot's in the table view. Now Pinot's has an average review showing it in the table view, and since we had last clicked on the review segment in the segmented control, our app automatically shows Pinot's at the top of the table view since it is now the highest rated spot. Now you can feel free to go back and update all of your spots with reviews. You don't even have to change a number. I'm going to click on the Shake Shack review. I'm not even going to change any of the stars. I'm just going to click on update without making any changes. That still calls update average rating. Head back to table view, and we see Shake Shack is among those spots sorted to the top because it now has an average rating. Swifter, that's one more skill in your full stack arsenal. You get sorted to the top of the skilled ones. Keep at it!